Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Fridays with Keenan's Cutting Edge. My name is Jenna Labor, and I will be your host as we explore the dynamic world of Don Keenan's trial philosophy, The Cutting Edge. Those of you joining us live this afternoon have the opportunity to ask questions and interact with our speaker. If you have a question, please type it into the comments section below the video, and we will be sure to address it. Episodes are released each week following the live broadcast, so be sure to hit that subscribe button and click the alerts icon so you don't miss an episode. Today, we have Rohit Pendyala with us to talk about taking excellent notes during our focus groups. Now, this is a hard one for me, and I'm excited to learn more about it and maybe some tips on how to remember to do it, because honestly, that's really what I feel like I struggle with. I'm doing the focus group. I'm so focused on my delivery. I've got a lot of great questions, and I can't wait to hear Rohit's take on all of this. We'll put his contact information at the Keenan Law Firm in the description below, so that if you have any follow-up questions after this, any ideas that you want to share, you're welcome to do that, as always. So let's dive right in. Rohit, talk to us about how you take excellent notes during focus groups.
Thank you, Jenna. It's so nice to be here. And I thank Mr. Keenan too for this opportunity. So coming to focus groups, it's so to tell you a little bit about myself before I dive into
why don't we start there? Let's have you introduce yourself. As I asked, I said my normal kind of intro thing, and I was like, oh gosh, we should have you introduce yourself, because you're a new face on this podcast, and you might be totally new to a lot of the folks who are listening. So yes, introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, what you do, and all that.
Yes, thank you. So I got my law degree back from India, and I have the license to practice in India. Then I came to this country and did my master's from UC Berkeley, and I have a specialization in law and technology. So before coming into Keenan Law Firm, I practiced in different aspects of law. So while I was doing my master's, I was doing a little bit of family law, and then I was in Alaska doing immigration law, which was, I think, the most complicated part of my life, because that was very hard. It was a lot of paperwork, and it was really hard. And then I took a little break, and then now here I am doing personal injury. And when I came here and joined Keenan Law Firm, I knew what personal injury was and what civil litigation is. But the focus group and the jury aspect was a little bit new to me, because I'm not used to jury trials or anything like that. So it took me, I think, 2 or 3 focus groups to understand what magic Mr. Keenan is doing with the focus groups. And yes, it is. And what they say is actually right. There is a way of doing a focus group, and then there is Keenan's way. And he does it like he has this magic, and he does it like completely different. And his way of thinking and implementing the voir dire is like exceptional. The trends that happen in this country and how they affect the sentiments of the focus group participants, and how he includes that in the voir dire when he comes on. It's amazing. So initially I thought, all I have to do is, just get the answers from the focus group participants and just include it in my so-called document. But later on, as I gained some experience in the law firm, I think there's more to that. And I started structuring myself while making notes. So focus group is, I try to structure my document even before I, enter into the focus group. So we get the, agenda, the demographics, the participants list, and, everything. So I, build up what all I can. We have these standard questions, and sometimes we have new questions that just pop up all of a sudden in the focus group. And I try to structure my document so that I don't miss any flow, and I'm, aware and listening to what the participants are saying. I think listening is the paramount here in the focus groups. And yeah, I take the votes, I put them in I do the multi-divisional thing. I put all the votes together, and then I wait for the debrief of the case, because that is when actually they discuss, they deliberate. And that is, I think, the most crucial part, because that is when the participants get to hear the other participants' opinions. And they might say that, oh, maybe my thinking was wrong. I think what that other person said was right. And then they, swap. And sometimes I think that, yes, including that is really important, because at the end, the sentiments that, are with the participants is really important for, the attorneys to understand on what is missing in the case to prepare, better. And for each case, I think we do about 10 focus groups, not, nothing less. I think there's 10 focus groups for each case that happen. And each, focus group has a different aspect. Sometimes we just see for the timeline itself. For the timeline itself, I've seen, Greg run about 5 to 6 focus groups just to fix the timeline. He's like, what is missing? What is missing? I want the 10 mark.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, yeah, that is how important listening and structuring the focus group notes are. And if you if you dive more deep into this, uh, after I think a couple of focus groups, we come up with this strategy to apply to the case. And then that strategy is again focus group. And then finally we get what we want.
Okay.
And the referring attorneys will just fire up when they go to their mediations or depositions. They just fire up. They're like,
that's one of my favorite things to talk to my colleagues about when I don't try to sell focus groups, but try to encourage them to do them. Or maybe is I'll say, here is a different way of looking at your case. And they've never, just from me, right? Here's a different, and then they're like, oh my gosh, I never even heard of that. And I'm like, well, wait until you hear what a focus group has to say, because it is not probably maybe what you think. Maybe it is. And that's great, but probably not.
Yes, because if you take any question and go to Mr. Keenan and say that, this, I'm stuck here. What do I do with this?
Focus group.
His answer will be, what did Bubba say?
Yeah.
Exactly. What does Bubba think?
Yeah.
So we circle back to that, and I think that is really important of where we stand, because most of the cases we have are have a certain sentimental value that connects well, and we should see what that spark is to ignite the courtroom.
Yeah.
And I think Papa Don has mastered that, so that is why he's what he is today. And that is why his focus groups are something that are so special.
Yeah, if anyone who's listening has ever had been a referring attorney, or if you're thinking about doing the referring attorney program, I would highly recommend it. Excuse me, because you get to watch this whole focus group process while the Keenan Law Firm puts it on. And it's great. You can, I don't know, it used to be, and I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, Rohit, but it used to be that you could, as long as you gave them notice, or, you could go to a focus group, and they used to do them every Friday. But I know, like, since COVID, something might have changed, but they're usually pretty open.
Yeah, since COVID, everything has gone virtual now with the focus groups. A lot of participants are not, interested in coming in person. They're like, let's do it online. But still, the value of the focus groups remain the same. Let it be virtual or let it be, in person. And while you actually brought up an interesting point, Jenna, about the referring attorneys and the focus groups. So the referring attorneys get to see what we did in a focus group during the workshops that we have. I think for each type of case we have, for each type of group we have, like for a premise group or medmal group, for each we do workshops twice a year at least. And those workshops, I think, are valuable assets for the refereeing attorneys, everybody comes together and there's so much intellectual discussion that goes on in the workshops. And I don't think I've ever missed one workshop since I joined Keaton Law Firm. So yeah, it's so much, exchange of knowledge, and the refereeing attorneys, they actually, give out ideas to the other refereeing attorney. It's like a intellectual discussion that comes together, and it is so fun. They're like, why didn't we do this? We can, I have a product actually, and that might help you, some expert that can help you or something like that. It's a very interesting thing. And that is when actually the focus group videos are played, and the memos are shown. And when they see the focus group videos, I think a lot of the refereeing attorneys have some new points to add, and they're surprised to see how the reaction was, because coming to the focus group, they think that their case is in one line, and after coming to the workshop, they see that, oh, okay, we actually missed it. There's a lot still to that has to go into this case. And yeah, it is pretty interesting for the workshops. And I think recently we had one workshop. It was Mindy's workshop, and one of the focus group that we did, all the participants were talking codes. Like everything they spoke was code. And Mr. Keenan came into the workshop, and he gave a new code. Yeah, it was pretty interesting, and there was a lot of discussion about mediations and how to. But I'm going out of topic. But yeah,
there's a whole college now on codes, right?
Yes, there is.
It's out, because I know I did codes training, but early on when they were still kind of developing the course. But that's what Rohit's talking about, is there are codes for everything, and there's a way to find out what those codes are. Some of them we already, the law firm already knows, and so if you're a referring attorney or a student of KTI, you can learn what the codes are that apply to your case and whatnot, and they're really powerful when you structure your case around them, and you do start seeing them. You start when people are talking about stuff. It's not like the focus group was like, well, I think the code is this. They're saying things where you're like, they're getting it.
Yeah, the first time when I was there, I was like, what does a code mean? What do they mean when they say code? Is it like some kind of a secret that I'm not seeing in the case? Is it, what does that mean? But, I had a chance to look at, Papa Don's 101 words book. And it was interesting how he, has a code for everything that comes in a case. There is a code. And he can identify the participants, and a lot of things using those codes.
Yep.
Did the participant connect with that code in this case or not? Yeah, it is a pretty interesting thing to, learn.
Yeah, so highly big plug for that class. Kind of depending on, no matter where you are really in your KTI journey, it definitely helps shape. You either want something to be on code, or maybe you want it to be off code, or maybe you want it to have these characteristics and not those, and can really help you with the types of people you want in your focus group. Like you're saying, how Don can identify a person who they might be thinking about your plaintiff as being on code, and so you don't want that person on your jury, or there's a lot that it can help with. So big plug for that one.
Yeah.
All right, I want to talk about this document that you're referencing. And I know we're not allowed to show it. So folks, I know you're going to be all sad and disappointed and possibly crying into your soup because you don't get to look at it. But Don keeps all that stuff pretty confidential. And that's important for focus group members to be able to speak freely and stuff too. So that's important to respect. But we've heard about focus group memos and we've heard about note taking. Are those the same thing?
No. So they're two completely different documents. The memos, I usually work on that, after the focus group is done. I have my notes prepared while the focus group is going on, and I try to have the, notes done within the focus group timeline so that, we can identify, where we stand on that case by the end of the focus group itself, and, not wait for 24, 48 hours. And, so focus group votes is, basically, as I told you before, I have this outline that I come early in the morning to the office, and I have it prepared before we begin with the focus group. And I usually do it on my laptop, but sometimes I don't trust the Wi-Fi or the technology, so I have my notepad ready. And for the debrief part, I usually try I not try most of the time. I try to I do my notes. I take down my notes and be very you know very particular about it, so that I can include them at the end. And for the memos, it's like a loose transcript that I put together in a neat way, like the discussion that happened between the participants and the attorney.
Okay, so kind of more from your memory, or well, from your notes, and so you say they talked about this and that, and this person
Yes.
said this and that kind of a thing. But it's not like for the memo, you're not transcribing like like a deposition type thing where it's exactly word for word.
Yes, it's not exactly word for word. I try to, omit certain things that are not related to the case, or certain, not which is not much useful to us. But sometimes we get some direct quotes from the participants, which is like, because direct quotes provides a verbatim, which is like really important. So I try to include those in the memos. And I've not been doing that much with the votes that I prepare, but I try to put that in the memo so that the referring attorney receives that.
Okay, so because the referring attorney then gets that memo, and so it's like a summary. Am I
Yes,
like a summary?
yes, they will. So all this happens, if so. It depends on the timeline of where we stand on that case. So, for example, if we are doing a narrative on the case, we're pretty much in the beginning stage, and the referring attorneys tend to come for 2 or 3 workshops that we conduct. So yeah, when they come to the workshops, when they see the focus group, I try to send it out right then and there, because I'm there with them. I send it out to them that time. But if at a point the focus group is done today and they have to go to mediation next week, I try to send the clip and the memo
Okay.
immediately, so that they have it.
Okay, so do you send both the notes document and the memo to the referring attorney, or just the memo?
I send the memo because I consolidate the notes and include it in the memo itself. And the votes that are already there, they come in the memo too. So the memo is the finalized product. The votes are just for the law firm to go through and see where we stand. Yeah.
Now,
But
votes, will you explain what votes are? I think most of our audience might know, but what are votes, and why are they important? How do you track them, and that kind of stuff?
so the votes are basically how the participants feel. So they have. So I'll give you an overview of votes. So, for example, if we present a case and they listen about the case, and then we don't directly go into the discussion. We don't open the discussion. We just say let's do a silent ballot. And all the votes are supposed to come to me. So we do a silent ballot, and then they start. We ask a couple of questions, and then they send their responses personally to me, because they're not supposed to see each other's responses. And I take those responses and put it in the outline that I've prepared, and I have it ready. And then the debrief happens, where we ask everyone to open their mics and just start the discussion. And that discussion, we then I take the notes personally from that.
Okay.
Of where what happens in there.
All right. And votes can be, if you're doing an adversarial focus group, you should be asking folks to vote whether they're feeling more towards plaintiff or defendant after every piece of evidence. You could be asking the emotional scale question and asking for feedback. So there could be lots of different ways you can get votes.
Yes. For the adversarial focus group, I think for me, focus group is the toughest votes, because it's like play fastest fingers first. As the plaintiffs open done, they send their votes, and the votes have to be circulated immediately.
Okay.
And after each aspect of the case, the votes are taken, and we keep while this is going on, we keep reviewing the votes to see how strong we are, what aspect is strong, what aspect is weak, and why. The regular focus groups, we sometimes ask them the reasons of, why, what do you want to know more about this case that we didn't present to you, or, we did something that the attorney didn't, inform
I
us,
love
or
that
something like
question.
that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That actually helps us to see, okay, what we are missing and what we need to include it in the next focus group that we, conduct on the case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And yeah, I think the whole concept of focus group is very, very important, because that, when the case is coming towards the end, and when we do the, final aspects of the focus group, it helps us, decide if, we should mediate, or, if we should negotiate, or just whatever they do, let's go to trial.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, it's a very, very important part of every case. Okay, so when you are taking notes, you're not the one conducting the focus group, right?
No. So when I am taking notes, it's usually when I'm taking notes, I don't conduct the focus group. It keeps circulating. So sometimes Greg does, sometimes Mindy does, sometimes Melinda does, and so Mr. Keenan comes in. He stays along for the whole focus group, but he does the voir dire.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. So it keeps circulating, but yeah, I am usually responsible for taking the whole points on the cases.
So I wonder, it can be hard to do, but if folks have a paralegal or an associate or somebody in their office, if you're doing your own focus groups, then maybe you have somebody taking notes that way. We always record our focus groups, and I know that Dawn does as well. So another option, if you're just a solo and you just really don't have another person, or for whatever reason there's nobody there, go back and watch the recording, which I'm laughing to myself because I'm like, that is very hard to do for me, because it's like a 2-hour focus group, and I'm like, oh gosh, do I really want to like go back and watch that to make notes or do a memo? It's hard to do. But
yeah, it's always easier to have somebody sitting beside you and helping you out, because summarizing whatever is said on the focus group is like really important. If you miss a point, again, you're back to square one. Like, why did I miss that?
mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would definitely I usually double check my notes when all the discussions are happening, just to make sure I'm not making any mistakes, because these go out.
Yeah.
So I try to be very, very precise and perfect on what I do, just to help others and to keep everything organized.
Mm-hmm. And then later, when you're preparing for trial or looking at what evidence you want to be preparing, or maybe doing your mediation presentation or whatever it may be, you can go back and look at your notes and memos and not have to rewatch the entire focus group if you've done it correctly, right?
Yes, and also I think Mindy usually does these before the mediation. She does this whole focus groups just for the mediation concept, and she says to the RAs that this is what Baba is saying. Just you stand on a really strong point. Just she tells the RAs to edit the parts of the focus group videos that KLF presented and show it in the mediation. That's it. You don't have to do anything. Don't talk. Just show them that.
Yep.
And there's your winning ground.
Yeah, and edit by clip, right? So we don't necessarily change what anybody has said in the focus group or splice together or anything weird. You just
no. We don't change anything. We just crop it to that particular clip that we want to show. How much relevant is what for the mediation. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they do.
Yeah, and that can be really powerful for the mediator. Oftentimes, and sometimes for the other side. I don't know. Sometimes I defense will say, well, I don't know what you put in front of them. I don't know what you told them. I don't. So ideally, just like we always talk about with depositions and getting the berry in the bucket and getting sound clips and getting the right bites and everything from your witness, try when you're doing your focus groups to have the question and the answer nicely put together so that you can show it. Because if you just show an answer without context, it becomes a little bit less powerful.
Yes,
it's hard to do.
That is really true. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's hard, but yeah. There's so many points of view when you're in mediation, but one of them is certainly the mediator. And sometimes, even if defense doesn't want to see a clip or whatever, just show it to the mediator and they can, pass along the information. Sometimes, sometimes when you're in mediation, if the mediator will all of a sudden become on your side, and then they're advocating for you in the other room. So some of that evidence we bring is for that purpose.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, that will really help, actually.
Yeah. Okay, so you're taking notes. What categories of things are you writing down? I guess is my question. I mean, you're not transcribing the whole thing like, whoa, like a crazy person. Like, oh my gosh, so and so said this. So you're taking notes about certain things. What are those categories?
So I usually try to summarize my points very, very I would say just bullet points related to the case. I don't want them to. I don't write down their sentiments that they say in the whole debrief. Mm-hmm. I just write down a bullet point which is very crucial point and which may be converted into an argument for us.
Mm. So and is that something you have developed over time to know what things to write down during the notes?
As I told you before, it took me 2-3 focus groups. Okay. I think even more than that. It took me a couple of focus groups to understand because I was pretty much new to this litigation. So understanding and proceeding to learning things, it took me some time, but I think it is very interesting. And now I know when I sit in a focus group, now I know what to note down, what to hope for. Mm-hmm. Because before sitting into the focus group, what the agenda we have for that day, I know what the case is about. So and I have the demographics and everything in front of me. I try to guess, but when the discussion after the focus group comes in and what Mr. Keenan says, again I'm like, yeah, I'm wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard. It's crazy. It's very difficult to predict how people are going to.
I know. Yeah, and every time the void that we present for the focus groups changes. Every focus group there's a different kind of void that goes into, and sometimes if the void is the same, the sentiments are different.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And yeah, it is pretty interesting. We don't know what changed. Maybe the situations, the trends, we don't know, but it is pretty interesting to see how different every time it is in the focus groups.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's also to highlight that we need to be doing more than just one focus group because you can't really cull data from one group of 8, 10, 12 people or whatever you have. That's not going to be enough for you to extrapolate throughout, the population and apply that to the 12 people sitting in the box and the jury, right? You're not going to be able to say, oh, this 12 people is the same as those, 12 people. So do a bunch of focus groups. And Don has a great focus group policy and procedure manual that is out. I'm looking at it in my library right now. So you could just go through that list of focus groups. I think it's like 9 or 12. I don't know why I'm not remembering now off the top of my head. But if you just go through that and just do at least one of each one of those, then you kind of got a better data set, or you might be able to extrapolate some demographic information from that kind of stuff.
Yeah, when you talk about demographic stuff, I think it is very, very important to gather the participants too. There's Chandra in our office who works for KTI. She does an amazing job on getting the participants. So I think we for certain focus groups we know what cases we're going to present. So we try to exclude certain people who have some expertise in certain things. Yeah. So and most of the law firms that I know of, they use some kind of company to grab the participants and all that. And I think what we do here is we personally pick the participants. Mm-hmm. And as I told you, Chandra, who has that ability, she reviews the participant, she follows up, and then we go through the final list, and then we have that perfect set of participants. Mm-hmm. That we know that are kind of different and can do the best in this focus group and can not. It's I think the most important aspects of in conduct focus groups.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you guys ever do the same group of people multiple times to try and test? Like say you did a visual with them for one, and they gave you good feedback, and then did you ever bring it back in front of them again to see if they, after you've edited it and see if it achieved the goal? Does that make sense what I'm asking?
Yes. So if a participant is seeing a case today, he won't see that case again. He won't be brought in for that case again. And I maintain that kind of list of what I have, what participants have seen. So if for example a person A is participating in a focus group today, he won't be allowed to participate in a focus group again until next year the same date. So it is a 1-year bar that we have, and they can still participate in the KTI focus groups because that is for pure training, and that is fine. But for KLF, it is in aspect of cases, so we don't allow any repeat participants for any case. We want fresh ideas. We want fresh sentiments to actually see what is missing and what we need to improve in our case.
Yeah. It can, after a while, I mean, let me ask you this. Are you allowed to share how you guys collect or like what sources you use? Like, I mean, do you put up bulletin boards at the library? Do you go on Craigslist? Are you allowed to share that?
I don't think we disclosed it to anybody yet. But I think, Chandra is the best judge in this, and she does that, better than anybody. So
yeah. We use Craigslist. I mean, I know people use all kinds of different things to find participants. If you've done enough of them, you start seeing repeat people. So it's nice.
Now that you said Craigslist, I think at a point we used Craigslist, but I think this was pre-COVID. Yeah. But I think after that, the strategy has changed, and we, use different kinds of methods to, bring in the participants. But we have never used a company to, a third-party company to bring us the focus group participants. Yeah. We'd like to do it like manually. We want to do it ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. Also, I've noticed in Washington, for example, and I'm sure other states are like this as well, but we have so many different counties where just different pockets of people do different things. And I'm saying this because some of the counties in Washington, you're not going to get anybody on Craigslist because for whatever reason, none of them are, I don't know, they're not on there or something like that. I don't know. But in those counties, maybe a Facebook page will work better or something like that. So you're going to have to kind of test and try different things, I think.
Yeah, when you say about the participants, I'll tell you the challenge is finding a participant for an adversarial focus group, because that is state and county specific participants we are looking for, and it is a struggle to get them. Yeah, and if it's a short notice, then it's like, oh my God, we have to do the best we can. It's it is a real struggle.
How many people do you try to get for each group?
We try to get 12 people for each focus group. Okay. Yeah, our cutoff is 8, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Do you find that you can hear from everybody? I mean, I know when we're obviously in a jury, there are 12 of them, but do you get good time with everybody, hear enough information from each participant when you have 12?
Yes. So we have them fill out. We have this basic, standard of questions we ask them, so that we get an idea of that particular person. And, we keep adding some questions that we think are important and, can help us know better about that person. We do that. And I personally communicate with the participants just 24 hours prior to the focus group. I call each person and, personally communicate with them and let them know that, we're glad you're coming on the focus group and hope to see you tomorrow or something like that. Just like a greeting. It's like, I'll feel much more confident than they'll be there.
Yes. Oh yeah, I know. We do follow-ups. Actually, we just trained our paralegal to collect participants, because Youngji and I do them for ourselves and we also do them for others. And we had been doing it ourselves, and it's a lot of work. I mean,
Yeah.
like God bless Chandra because it's a lot of work to get them. And then not only so you get over the first hump of getting them all to sign up and verifying who they are so that they're not scammers or whoever else, and then you got to be sure they show up.
Yeah, scam. Yeah, sometimes people just join from some other country, and it's like, no.
Nope.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had to pull people out to breakout rooms and say, hey, you told me you lived here and, this, that, and that's not really matching up with what I'm seeing. Can you show me some, and they're like, oh, yeah, I'll show you after the focus group. I'm like, no. Or we had one guy who he just created multiple identities and would sign up for cases, and it's very hard, just he would have a new email address and a new name, and it was really hard. We've started asking for actual government issued ID, and I know some people get touchy about that, and we have found that those that are touchy about it, it's worth losing them and ensuring that we have legitimate participants, because we were just seeing a lot of, especially when it's remote, right? They're not showing up in your office. Somebody from Kenya or whatever is not going to show up in your office, but they're going to show up on your Zoom meet.
Yeah, luckily we didn't have much of those cases. Maybe in this whole year I think we just had one of such case.
Good.
But yeah, that is why I think manually picking the participants is more effective. That is working for KLF, because we talk to each person personally and then have them come to the focus group.
Yeah, awesome. All right, let's see. I'm trying to think of other questions about the notes, because technically this is on the notes taking portion of it. So what we talked about, taking notes on the votes, on any questions. You bring the template to the focus group with you because you know what the questions are going to be that are going to be asked, right?
Yes.
So that way you're not, you can just go to the section of your pre-created template and start typing in the responses, right?
Yes, but sometimes I get surprise questions once I'm in the focus group, and then I try to type it out real quick and have everything saved up. As I told you, if I don't have that much time, I just write down. I have a notepad always beside me. I try to write down everything so that even if I miss it, I can include that. So the problem with the problem with Zoom recordings that we've been having is the transcript. Sometimes we get it, sometimes we don't. And, the participants respond to me and they're supposed to, have all their, responses consolidated into one message. But trust me, they never do that.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, that never happens. Yeah. So it's pretty hard to, read through the transcript. If by chance we have that, it's pretty hard. So I think doing it at that moment is key for having everything organized.
Yeah. Do you guys ever use AI to transcribe or do notes or anything like that?
No, we have not used AI yet for transcriptions, but usually I think just for the memo part, we use transcription software so that whenever it is important, like whenever it is like an emergency that the memo has to go out right now to the RA, that is when I try to use that software. If not, I'm like, I don't need that software. I can just listen to the video and type it in. Or sometimes when we save it to the Dropbox, it has its own transcription. It's wrong, but it gives me an idea of what they said.
Yeah, we've used Otter AI. I know there's more out there. I don't use it too often.
Right?
What?
The SpeakRite.
SpeakRite, yeah, that's another one.
Yeah, SpeakRite.
Yeah, there's a few different ones, and it's gives you an idea, and I'm sure over time all of this stuff is going to get so much better.
Yeah,
already better than it was, but yeah, you'll definitely see it's not quite right. They didn't hear exactly what the participant said or whatever, so you always got to kind of do your own checking on that.
Yeah, even if I use any software, I have to go back and do my own anyway, because even if I use SpeakRite, I send them the video and everything. I can listen to it, but they can't for some reason. They just put some stars and send it back to me. I'm like, okay, I have to listen to it again.
Yeah.
And sometimes they change the words, which completely changes the whole meaning of that sentence. That makes no sense. So I try to listen to the video again and edit it
Mm-hmm.
so that, we have the proper, discussion that happened for the case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's good. I mean, I'm curious. I think we're going to have somebody on, or supposed to have somebody on to talk a little bit about AI in a future episode. So I'm curious about all that kind of stuff because it's a great tool.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty interested too. I'll keep an eye out for that episode because I'm personally an AI enthusiast, and I really want to try the LexisNexis AI and see what they built because I've heard some rave reviews about it.
Oh, interesting. So in LexisNexis, would that be just making it easier to search cases, or what would it?
Yeah, easier to search cases and summarize the part that you need. I think it's I've discussed with a couple of RAs that are already using it, and they said great things about it. So
oh, nice.
I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of ways that it can definitely help our practices, especially for those of us who, well, I have a law partner and a paralegal, but if you're a solo. And I'm, we're on the notes issue here, trying to take notes during your focus group, but also like pay attention and listen, right? You brought that up right in the beginning. It's so important to listen. If you have an AI companion that's transcribing it or taking down notes, then, that's going to be super helpful. Again, though, it doesn't replace you having to go back and check it, but it could be helpful.
Yeah. And definitely, I would say your focus is really important for your focus group. Mm-hmm. That's the main part.
Yeah. So try not to take your own notes, folks. And also I feel like I can always tell, or I know that others can tell when I'm taking notes, because you kind of like get the that stare in your eyes because you're like and you're clicking away and you're like, I did not just hear what happened. And so try to have a note taker with you. And that's kind of like with trial trackers. Trial trackers are beautiful, wonderful things. And I've not ever had the opportunity to have one because I just don't have anyone that can do that. We tried looking for one time to sit through a trial, but it just was difficult to find. But anyways, yeah. So awesome. Okay. Any other things you want to tell us about taking notes during focus groups?
I think I pretty much covered everything, and yes, I think the referring attorneys who already have come to the workshops and have seen the memos, at least after I joined since last year, I think they know how KLF conducts the focus groups and how different it is from the regular focus groups conducted. And I'm pretty sure they're happy with the product that they're getting.
Yeah, it's an incredible experience. There's also a focus group college. So folks listening, if you want to learn more, it's not all about taking notes during the focus groups. It's about how to conduct them and which ones to conduct and how many and how to get participants, and all that stuff is talked about pretty extensively in that focus group college. So definitely recommend attending that one as well. Sign up to be an RA if can. Dawn has rejected several of my cases, but doesn't stop me from trying. So don't stop trying. You will hit at some point. You will hit.
Definitely. Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you for being here, Rohit. I really appreciate your time and all of this information. We got down some really great rabbit holes, rabbit trails, whatever they're called. And I hope that this has been valuable to the folks out there. So thank you all for you who joined us live. If anybody's out there, I always appreciate that. But if not, please, listen to us later in the week. If you like today's episode, please click the thumbs up to feed the YouTube algorithm. Let them know that you find the content interesting and helpful. And don't forget to subscribe and sign up for alerts. We've been doing replays, pre-records, live episodes. So we're kind of in a mix of different ways that we're presenting the information to everybody. So kind of be subscribed so that you can always know whether we're doing a live one or if it's going to be pre-recorded or a replay. And keep an eye out for more live episodes. We've got a couple coming up this summer. If you have suggestions on topics or ideas about who you want to hear from, I'm always open to that. I do have a pending guest for an email that I received a couple weeks ago. So I do hear those. I do start my search on trying to find a guest based on the topics that you provide. So it doesn't fall on deaf ears. And it's very helpful to us in creating content so that we're delivering exactly what you want to hear. So have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you next time.